It's unbearable kupoteza mali yako yote, kupoteza watoto wako. If you look at what happened here, hapa tunasema kwamba 62 people lost their lives in less than 20 minutes.
Hiyo usiku tu moja kabla asubuhi ifike, sikuwa na watoto wangu wawili pamoja na baba yao walikuwa washania.
We tried our best. I removed whatever rubble was on her, and we couldn't attempt resuscitation because her jaw was broken in 3 pieces, and I couldn't even find the pulse at that time. So I assumed that she was already gone.
We've lost 19 lives here because of the water was coming on top. It was rushing all the people's houses. People have lost their valuables.
I said, Lord, I am coming home. I am prepared to come home now and I'm ready. I said, Vish, I love you. I love my parents because I know this is the end of it.
The aftermath of the flash floods.
Hundreds displaced after 2 tornadoes hit parts of South Africa's KwaZulu-Natal province.
It's a story of climatic extremes that's becoming more frequent, more damaging, especially for the world's most vulnerable people.
Flood water submerged streets and homes across the Senegalese capital.
At least 176 people have died in flash floods in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo.
Now let's take you to Nigeria, where the governor of Borno State has told the BBC that up to 2 million people have been affected by major flooding in the region. In Chad, at least 300 people have died as a result of unusually heavy rainfall.
Roads turned into rivers. Residents of Kinshasa were caught off guard.
Extreme temperatures are being reported across Africa's Sahel region.
Across Africa, communities are bearing the brunt of a climate crisis they did not cause. Unforgiving floods, violent tornadoes, and relentless droughts are reshaping lives and landscapes with devastating force. In Kenya and beyond, the climate crisis is no longer a distant threat, it's an immediate reality. Communities that once thrived are now on the front lines of extreme weather events, each more severe and unpredictable than the last. This is the story of Africa's climate crisis from the people who have suffered the most. Our journey across Kenya and South Africa revealed some of the most heartbreaking stories imaginable. In Kenya, we visited Mahu and Kindu Bay, where the devastating impacts of climate change were painfully evident. In Mahu, a town 60 kilometers northwest of Nairobi, floods struck without warning, claiming lives, destroying livelihoods, and washing away dreams. Jane Muthoni is one of many grappling with unbearable loss. Her husband and 2 children were taken by the floods.
Hiyo usiku tu moja kabla asubuhi ifike, sikuwa na watoto wangu wawili pamoja na baba yao walikuwa washaniacha.
Jane is one of dozens counting losses of life and property in Mahu.
Mimi nilikuwa na msichana wa 2 years. Sasa baba yao ndiye alienda kwenye vijana wangu walikuwa wamelala. Yeye alitoka na hao vijana wawili hivi na mimi nikatoka na msichana. Sasa venye nilifungua gate nikatoka, I think wao hawako wametoka nje ya gate. Walibebewa huko ndani, lakini mimi nilikuwa nishatoka nje ya gate. Sikuenda sana kufika pale. Hapo ndio niliachilia mtoto, hata sikujua nilimwachilia juu hiyo maji ilikuwa maji mingi sana. Kwanza huyu mtoto wangu wa 2 years mdogo alikuwa na celebrate birthday yake ya 2 years. Hiyo Sunday mimi niliokolewa huko chini, na kama bwanangu alipatikana after 1 week, na huyo msichana wangu sikumpata hata siku ya leo.
It's unbearable kupoteza mali yako yote, kupoteza watoto wako, majirani, marafiki is huge.
Ukiangalia mahali hapa nimezika watu 3. Huyu ni my sister. Hao nao ni watoto wangu wawili. Watoto ambaye nilikuwa na walea vizuri kwa nyumba moja, na kwa sasa wameaga, wameniacha.
Around saa 8 saa 9 usiku All I remember, I had the first bang, ile hit ya kugonga nyumba mara ya kwanza. Gongwa tu once, na within no time tulikuwa already nje tumebebwa na maji.
Sasa wakati ribasti hivi, hii maneno ndio unaona wakati ribasti ilileta hii mawe, iliharibu mashamba yetu, ilituangamizia familia zetu, na kila kitu ambayo tulikuwa nayo kwa boma zetu iliharibu. Pia manyumba ilibemba yote.
To my surprise ni kwamba licha ya kuwa nilikuwa na vitu vingi hapa, I recovered nothing. The only thing nilitoa kwa hii maji is the bodies of these boys. On day 2 of the disaster, the president came here and he gave 3 promises. One, that all the people from the affected area will be resettled. Second, that all the properties they lost will be restored unto them by the government. And that he was going to send a team of experts here to determine on whether the affected area is safe for habitation or not. Aliagiza hivyo, but it was just a hot air kwa sababu so far nothing has happened since then.
In Homa Bay, heavy rainfall has caused the waters of Lake Victoria to rise at an alarming rate. What was once a safe distance from the shoreline is now an encroaching threat to countless families. Lately, with each rainy season, the lake and its tributaries threaten to invade fertile farmlands and homesteads, displacing hundreds. Families are forced to abandon their homes, their memories sinking away with every displacement.
Pigno nosebiro makata jirende kagi utegi omukore te, onge ng'ama oseduogo, ji kwang'a kwang'a oko. To sani eri osegike dhoda kama ok ang'e kaka dwa konyora, odok muko na ot, to kuma dhi jowadwa onge, nikech puothano ka pure to pi donjo, sano opong' ma gik mana puro pi odhigo te.
An napuro, kendo napuro gik mang'eny. Apuro alot, niang', rabuon, to gigo sani ok anyal loso nikech aonge gi kama anyalo kete. Pi dhigo, kapuro to pi dhigo. Ka napuro higa mokalo, higa ni makoro wan gi sani Oktoba ni, napuro puodho te ma cham ne ni e iye. Cham ne pi odhigo mana dong' nono. Ka nachaka duogo ni kendo achako pur. Achaka puro, chieng' no chako wang'o ma achako machielo kendo be ok dhi maber. Asedak e piny karachwanyo ka to pok aneno gima chalo kama.
Osebedo kobiro higa ka higa, yearly, obedo gi flood ka. Koro pi odonjo to kethonwa cham, wapidho rabuon, ipidho alot to kethonwa. Seche ma oro opong' kolore nam kama, to apiny kocha kobiro kama. To kosebiro modonjo ka, to koseblok ka, koro donjo e puodho te kodhi kama.
In South Africa, the impacts of extreme weather events are equally devastating. In June 2024, a tornado of unprecedented scale struck Tongat, north of Durban, leaving a trail of death and destruction.
All I saw was a huge whirlwind of things inside. And then it dawned on me that this is a tornado. Literally, you could see planks, clothing, all sorts of stuff in this. And the sound was like an aeroplane, an engine 10 times loud. So I was literally in my car. There was no way of me turning back. I just held my head down. I'm a Christian. Held my cross. I said, Lord, I am coming home. I am prepared to come home now and I'm ready. I said, Vish, I love you. I love my parents because I know this is the end of it.
Vivendra remembers the 3rd of June 2024 clearly when a peaceful family dinner was disrupted by events that changed his life forever.
I was standing at the sliding door. We had a sliding door there also. And I was watching the wind, and then I could hear, we have a informal settlement in the front of our house. So I heard the people screaming and I could see the shacks in the air. Then I called my wife and she came and stood behind me and she also was watching. And my son screamed because things were flying in the house, so I ran and covered him. And in like 45 seconds everything stopped. And then looked around, everything, there was no roof and everything was everywhere. So I told him to just stay there, call out for my wife because I could see my mom-in-law on the other far end of the lounge. I couldn't see my wife anywhere. I called for her, couldn't get a reply, then I went searching and I found her outside, just outside the door. And we tried our best. I removed whatever rubble was on her and we couldn't attempt resuscitation because her jaw was broken in 3 pieces and I couldn't even find the pulse at that time. So I assumed that she was already gone. Yeah.
Less than 10 minutes later, he confirmed his wife's death. That day, at least 9 others died across Tongat. But even those who survived described the horror of experiencing a tornado.
My child was with me in the house. He kept on telling me, "Mommy, we are dying." And the one thought I had in my mind is that I am helpless. I'm helpless to helping my son. I can't do anything to help him in that moment. I couldn't find a safe place for him to hide. I just had to hold him and crouch over him and put him in between my thighs so that if anything hits, it will hit me first. Maybe it will get to him, but as long as I've tried to protect him as much as I could.
How was he doing?
The counselors said that he had PTSD because when there's wind and rain, he doesn't want to go out to play. When it's raining, he doesn't want to go to school. He says the tornado is going to hit him while he's at school. He'd rather be here at home with me when it hits. He sleeps on my chest when it's raining because he's scared. He shakes, actually.
Just 2 years earlier, in April 2022, heavy rains in Durban triggered catastrophic floods that claimed over 436 lives. Entire neighborhoods were swept away and critical infrastructure obliterated, making recovery nearly impossible. But this is not just about droughts, floods, or tornadoes. It's about the people, the communities whose lives are at the mercy of a changing climate. They lose loved ones, their homes, and the very food that sustains them. And the trauma is shared with the community that survives and the volunteers trying to help.
Everything was wet and damaged, but people were walking around as though they were on a completely different planet. Like it was all so surreal, like nothing was real. And then I went to help people, I don't know who they are, in the flats across the road. And I looked out and there wasn't, like down towards this area, and there actually wasn't much left. And
It's okay, take your time.
Okay. We deserve better. People don't see this impact. They think it doesn't happen to us. If the North keeps exploiting us, they don't see the impact.
As communities across Africa struggle to make sense of these extreme weather events, experts explain the undeniable connection between these identifying disasters and the global climate crisis.
Let me put it to you this way. Imagine the Earth is a person trying to fall asleep under a cozy blanket. Now imagine someone piling on thick blankets. At first it feels warm, but then it begins to be suffocating. That's exactly what greenhouse gases caused by the burning of fossil fuels are doing to Earth. It traps heat and refuses to let it escape. Now, just like how you would toss and turn in bed to find comfort, the The Earth reacts with extreme weather, like flooding, droughts, and heat waves.
The industry behind pollution that is exacerbating the changing climate. We're talking about fossil fuel giants, mining of coal and other precious minerals underneath the soil, oil and gas, to not forget that. All those activities contribute to the changing climate and actually fast-pace the process. And the result of the changing climate is these extreme weather events like your tornadoes here in Tongat and floods elsewhere and a drought elsewhere and fires in Europe, etc. So the relationship between climate crisis and pollution results to this, where you have homes and people's lives ripped apart.
The tragedies in Kenya and South Africa were not outliers. They are warning shots. Africa's climate roulette spins on. In April 2025, it knocked on the Democratic Republic of Congo. In one night, April 4th to 5th, Kinshasa received a month's worth of rain. 43 people were swept away or crushed when homes collapsed. 46 more landed in emergency wards. The government said 13,000 people were left homeless and in dire need of help. From Kinshasa's Brown River to Dakar's sweltering nights during the record Sahel heatwave, from the mud-choked streets of Derna after Storm Daniel in Libya to the wind-flattened coast of Quelimane after Cyclone Freddy's second landfall in Mozambique, the climate crisis speaks every language. Flood, heat, wind, drought in every register of loss, and it is getting louder. In 2024, the World Meteorological Organization documented 151 extreme weather events around the world. That was the hottest year since record-keeping began 175 years ago.
Scientists have confirmed 2024 was the hottest year on record.
For the first time, all 10 of the hottest years have occurred back-to-back within the past decade. Shocking events included heat waves reaching nearly 50 degrees in Australia and Iran, record-breaking floods across continents, and supercharged storms like Hurricane Helene and Typhoon Yagi. This destruction displaced over 800,000 people, another record-breaking number. The climate crisis cost Africa $463 million in the first half of 2024 alone. The cost of adapting to this accelerating crisis is staggering. According to UN figures, climate adaptation will require $30 to $50 billion annually for sub-Saharan Africa over the next decade. Already, countries divert up to 9% of their budgets to climate disaster response. Yet, global carbon emissions continue to rise, while fossil fuel giants like Shell and Total Energies count billions in profits. 1 year of profits from these two oil giants could finance an entire year of climate adaptation needs for Africa. Scientists have found that about 70% of emissions fueling these disasters come from fossil fuels, and yet just 20 companies are responsible for over a third of global greenhouse gas emissions. As communities globally struggle to rebuild shattered lives, the connection between these intensifying disasters and fossil fuel emissions becomes impossible to ignore. It's a moral crisis playing out on a record-breaking global scale that demands immediate accountability and action from those who have profited the most while knowing the consequences of their business model for decades.
In order to protect people and places from these threats, we need to cut back on fossil fuels. If we don't act now, these weather events will worsen and harm more communities. In order to tackle global warming, we need to hold fossil fuel companies, the biggest contributors, accountable.
How many more families must lose everything before we take action? How many children must go missing in the flood waters before we take meaningful action? The time to act is now.
We are Africa, and we need to protect what we've got, not for us, because one of these days we will be nothing, but for future generations, because at the rate we're going and the way we've exploited this continent, when I say we, I'm saying the global north, our future generations are going to have nothing left.
These aren't just stories. They are testimonies from the front lines of a manufactured catastrophe. This isn't merely an environmental crisis. It's a calculated sacrifice of lives for quarterly profits. The science is settled. The responsibility is clear. Every flood, every drought, Every life lost demands not just our sympathy, but a simple principle of justice. Those who broke our climate must pay to fix it.
My message to fossil fuel companies: pack your bags, leave my continent, and don't let the door hit you on your way out.